The following program is sponsored by the Building Wisconsin Television Network.
Welcome to another project here on Building Wisconsin. I'm Stuart Keith, and this week, we're following along with the Steamfitters as we learn more about our state's natural gas distribution system. So let's get started with Elizabeth Jost from WI Energies. Beautiful day out here. And what are we looking at, Elizabeth?
So we're looking at some transmission pipeline that's coming into one of our WI Energies regulator stations.
Okay, so this is a regulator station. What does a regulator station do?
So the regulator station is what would cut the pressure from the transmission company's high pressure to the pressure we want to send to our customers and distribute through our distribution system.
So is that gas that I hear moving through? I hear a hiss going through this line.
It's a lot of gas you're hearing moving through these lines.
I mean, this is incredible. I mean, that's a huge pipe in my opinion, but on today's show, we're going to see some even bigger ones out there.
Yep, you're going to see a lot bigger pipeline out there.
Obviously, the gas is coming from somewhere, so let's step back and talk about that natural gas pipeline distribution, not only through Wisconsin, but throughout our nation.
There's a great network of gas pipelines. There's over 280,000 miles of transmission pipeline in the U.S.
Where does WI Energies get their gas from?
So generally gas is coming from the south. We mine it or we drill it in the sea and we bring it up through transmission lines.
Well, it's obviously one of the most common, if not the most common source of energy, and it's very clean, so it's a great resource that we can take advantage of.
It's a wonderful resource for us.
And you know, when I see the pipelines like this above ground, this is nothing compared to how many are buried beneath our streets and countryside. And I included with a lot of people, never give it a second thought, but just for instance, how many miles of pipe does WI Energy have buried in the ground?
WI Energies has 36,000 miles of pipeline. That's 20,000 miles in the streets and about 16,000 miles of pipeline that comes from the streets up to your homes and businesses.
That is an incredible amount of piping that needs to be maintained.
It is. We maintain it and keep it safe for our customers and our employees.
Okay, so is it fair to say that it's WI Energy's responsibility to get this natural gas to their customers, to a homeowner, but once it goes beyond the meter, then it's the homeowner's responsibility to take care of it?
That's correct. WI Energies owns up into the meter and through the meter. If there's any damage to the meter that needs to get taken care of, WI Energies will come out and take care of that meter and replace it. The piping that goes from the meter into the customer's home is the customer's responsibility to maintain.
Okay, and along the lines of maintenance, obviously it is natural gas that we're dealing with, so I know at your website you have some great safety reminders, but let's just share a few of them with our viewers.
Yeah, so if you smell natural gas in your home, you should definitely leave immediately and give us a call. We'll come out, investigate, and make the situation safe. You should definitely maintain your gas appliances within your house. We recommend calling an HVAC contractor to do that. Also, outside when you're digging, prior to digging and doing any project outside, you should be calling Digger's Hotline to have your lot located at 811 so that you know what's below in the ground and so you can protect our equipment, yourself, and your family. You know,
those are some great safety reminders, and I would highly recommend, again, visiting your website. You have some great additional safety reminders for homeowners out there.
Yes, we do.
Well, I really appreciate you coming on today's show. Right now I'm going to head up to Germantown where there's a gas main replacement project going on and some of that huge piping I alluded to. Really appreciate you coming on today's show.
It's been my pleasure.
Oh man, an awful lot of construction going on here. Now, you know, we learned about the interstate pipeline system to provide us with natural gas. Is this one of the distribution pipes that's being replaced coming off that main line?
Yeah, this is a project that we have in Germantown right now. We're about midway through the project, and what we're doing overall is we're replacing about 10 miles of main coming from one of the pipelines where we actually bring in gas from their system and then regulate it down into our system that eventually feeds our customers.
Okay, so this is a replacement project. How old was the original pipe?
The existing pipe that we're replacing is from 1953.
Wow,
You know,
that sounds
so we're
old.
taking the opportunity to replace this now simply because we look at projects in their timeline overall and kind of judge their life cycle, and we want to take an active approach from a safety perspective and overall just working it into our budgets to be active in replacing those lines.
Okay, so what is the average life expectancy? Is it a fair question? I mean, are you able to say?
Yeah, it really depends. It varies quite a bit based on the coating, the construction techniques, maybe the soil conditions, but you know, generally we would hope that we would get about 80 years out of this pipeline that we're putting in now, replacing the existing one.
And so if that one was from the 50s, it's getting about that time, and you certainly don't want to wait until the end, because if you wait to the end, you don't want a catastrophic event to happen, that's for sure.
Safety and reliability are really two of the most important things for us and our customers, so we want to be active in replacing the mains in a timely fashion.
Okay, what size pipe is this?
This is 24-inch pipe.
Wow, 24 inches. What was the one that you're replacing?
The existing pipe that we're replacing is 20-inch pipe.
So is there going to be more capacity with this one?
Yes, that's actually going to give us more reliability in southeastern Wisconsin, specifically in this area along with Milwaukee, by being able to take more gas from the interstate pipeline that's further to the west here and bringing it into our system.
That said, who are the professionals that are replacing it, doing this work here?
The Steamfitters, which are an integral part of our overall construction here, the welders and the fitters that are actually assembling the pipe out here.
Sure, so the steam fitters that are working here, I mean, I look at this, obviously you're working in a trench setting or whether you're doing directional boring. I mean, safety has to be at the forefront.
Yeah, safety is critical for us. It's a core expectation for us and our contractors, not only during construction, but even after construction, so that we have a safe and reliable system again for our customers.
Okay, sure, and I would think that welding is also very important.
Yes, after the welds are completed, we'll actually have an inspector on site take a look at them, and then we'll bring out an x-ray company that'll actually verify the integrity of those welds.
How long until this project is completed?
We're looking at probably about mid to late next year. We started earlier this year in March and kind of phased it over about 1.5 to 2 years for the overall construction.
You know, when I look at the projects going around, a lot of us don't give a second thought to the natural gas that flows underneath our communities. It's awesome to have the skilled professionals and a conscious company like yours that's taking care of this type of infrastructure. I appreciate you coming on today's show and sharing it with us.
Thank you.
You know, Josh, throughout today's show, we've been following the installation of the new pipeline. And when we arrived on site, I was really impressed with how important safety was. And you as a safety director taking us aside, and it might, you know, seem minimal to somebody watching today's show, but there are a lot of hazards out here, and you were very serious about the importance of following some guidelines.
Yes, right away we did a safety orientation with everyone when they got out on site. Safety for the 601, safety for KS, and for We Energies is very important to all of us. Making sure that everyone on site, whether it's a guest to our job site, an inspector, our own team members, when they're out on site, need to be safe, and we want to make sure everyone is aware of those hazards and understanding where they can and cannot be. You know, the traffic alone, there's a lot of traffic in the areas, so we need to make sure constantly got our heads on a swivel and we're staying in our work zone.
Yeah, you know, it's definitely not just the construction area itself, it's the traffic coming through. And if I could say anything to a viewer out there, is slow down. I mean, people are whipping by us here. We're 5 feet away from them, even though we're inside the barrels. We're 5 feet away, and they seem oblivious to it. So, You know, we always hear about orange barrels, people curse about construction, but at the end of the day, it makes our quality of life better. So just slow down so everybody can go home at night.
Be much appreciated.
You know, on previous shows, on today's show, we like to get out to the training center in 601, and one of the things that I've already noticed was the magnitude of a project like this. Back at 601, we learned about the rigging and how pipes are welded together and things. But until you get out here and talk about a 10-mile-long project and how multiple sticks of pipe are welded together, the magnitude is incredible, and with that magnitude comes the importance of safety.
Yes, we're very blessed that the 601 does provide training to their team members before they come out onto our job sites, very task-related training. They're very qualified members before they come out onto our job sites. We do provide an additional orientation to them before they start working for KS, but truly they really do have good training and good skills before getting to our job sites.
And not only at the beginning of projects, as I understand it, you do spot testing as well, because that's how important safety is.
Yes, we do daily audits out on our job sites. It's either by myself or any of our 17 different safety professionals that we have here at KS. We've also got third-party contractors that are coming out doing audits on our crews as well. Again, ensuring that the safety of our team members along with the public is first and foremost.
Well, it's awesome to see. Can't stress enough how impressed I was with your safety lecture at the beginning of today's shoot. Appreciate you coming on today's show.
Thanks, Stu. It's been my pleasure.
Are you ready for a career choice that rewards you for your hard work, compensates you for your knowledge and willingness to learn, pays you more money, provides better benefits, and offers a comfortable retirement? Then contact your local Steamfitters 601 Training Center and attend our next trade orientation. You'll learn about our complete 5-year apprenticeship program that's designed to help you progress from the basic on-the-job skills to the top of the welding and HVACR service industry. You also don't need a big down payment to start your steam fitter training. Just a good work ethic that includes showing up on time, working hard, and working smart. And better yet, you're well paid through your apprenticeship, and you earn more as you learn more. So make a career choice that's full of rewards and contact Steamfitters Local 601 today for more information.
So far in today's show, Jim, we've been learning more about the natural gas infrastructure and the pipelines throughout our state. And we're in the Milwaukee area right now, and what I want to focus in on are the highly skilled professionals doing the work, because after all, we're dealing with natural gas in 24-inch mains.
Exactly. What we've got here is our steam fitters that are rig welders and helpers. Right now you can see they're putting a bead on the 24-inch pipe, and The guys that are standing next to them with the grinders are our helpers. They work as a team. You'll see the guy that's welding it out. When he gets done with that weld, that helper's there to hand him his rod, adjust his heat, and to clean up his weld. So it's very critical that they work together as a team.
How many rounds do they go? How many layers of weld is in there?
Typically on this, they're going to do a root, hot pass, fill, and cap. So it could be 3 to 4 that's on there depending on the thickness of the pipe.
You know, when I look at that, I didn't realize how intense it is. Now, how can they assure that those welds are exactly what they're looking for?
When these welds are completed, they'll have a company come in that x-rays the welds. Every weld has to be 100%, and every weld on this job is x-rayed. If they're not, they have to be repaired or cut out. But I'm proud to say that our members on this job have a very successful rate, and they're putting in good welds for WI Energies and the contractor.
Now, is this type of welding different than other types of weldings that steam fitters do? Because throughout different shows that we've done, welding is at the heart of what a steam fitter does.
Exactly. You know, here we're out in the elements, okay? Out in the wind, and primarily stick welding that they're doing. And this type of welding, different from building trades, is downhill welding that we're doing. And you can see that there's a welder on each side of the pipe. It's called brother-in-law, because that way they can weld and keep the gap the same.
Do they always use 2 welders on pipeline welding?
Anything 16-inch and over, there's 2 welders on it.
Now, is this what they call rig welding?
Yeah, as you can see right here, each welder puts together his own rig, which consists of a weld machine, oxyacetylene cutting torch, 100 foot of lead, and that's their rig that they use. And the contractor leases that from them as they're working. So that's their bread and butter machine that they take around the whole entire state of Wisconsin.
Sounds to me like training is of the utmost importance.
Yeah, training is so critical because we're dealing with natural gas in a pipe.
Sure.
Okay, this is skilled labor. These guys have to have the utmost training so that every weld is perfect. And that's what WI Energies expects, and that's what our contractor, KS, expects.
And not only those 2 entities, but
all
our
of us.
community.
All of us.
I don't
yeah.
want to have to worry about a natural gas line.
All these guys are local. I mean, they live right here in the area, and we put them to work. This is not people from traveling from out of state. These are our local hands doing this work throughout the state of Wisconsin.
Sure, now when I think of 601, I think of the southeastern part of the state, but when we talk about gas line infrastructure, you guys cover the entire state, right?
Yeah, basically we're responsible to handle gas, oil, fuels through the whole state of Wisconsin, either in the steel pipe, the plastic, screwed pipe. That's all the work of a steam fitter. And yes, it's the entire state of Wisconsin that we have jurisdiction and contractors working for different owners and utilities throughout the whole state.
Well, you know, talking to Matt from WI Energies, he was talking just in their jurisdiction alone, their service area alone, they have upwards of 20,000 miles of this type of pipe.
Yeah.
And a lot of it's being replaced. So I take it there's a huge call for this line of steam fitting work?
Yeah, a lot of people don't realize how much pipe is in the ground, but think about it. You get home, you turn on your stove, there's gas. I mean, it's got to get to
furnace, your hot water heater.
everything. So, yeah, there's a huge demand for it. We're always fear of a shortage of welders. We're always looking for new individuals to come in to learn this trade. It's a very great paying job, very rewarding.
Now, since they're part of 601, do I have to go through a 5-year apprenticeship? Say I'm a young adult and I'm interested in becoming a pipeline welder. Do I have to go through 5 years before I can get on the line?
Basically, a new individual will start out as a helper. Okay. He'll work side by side on the welder. So as he's helping, he's learning on the job. They'll also come to our training center at 601, and they'll learn the safety, the grinding. They'll learn welding, they'll practice welding. So our school will get them, and typically in about 5 years, they put together their own rig and they're out rig welding. So it's a training at the school along with training on the job.
As a member, a citizen here of Wisconsin.
Exactly.
These are the professionals that I want working on it. Right now, let's head back to 601. I want to learn more about the pipeline training and how they get to be so highly skilled.
Yep, we'll go take a look at the training center.
Well, Paul, throughout today's show, we've been learning the importance of welding, which isn't surprising when you're talking about the steam fitter field. But we're, out in the real world seeing a gas line main distribution line being welded together. And we talked about all the training that's needed to do it correctly. And I take it out here at 601 Training Center, this is where all the training's done?
Yes, it is. We do all training for pipeline. We do training for building trades, journeymen, and apprentices. But we do a lot of pipeline training here as well.
Okay, so specifically, I saw Bill was here brushing up on his skills. What were you teaching?
Bill right now, he's working on some service T takeoffs. It represents a main in the street, and he's welding the takeoffs that are going to go to your house.
Oh, okay, so that's why we see a considerably smaller diameter pipe going in. So what are some of the techniques that you're teaching him here?
So right here, we're teaching just the stack bead, the fillet weld, making sure there's no undercut, making sure there's no porosity, no holes.
I bet that one-on-one training is invaluable. I mean, compared to being in a class of 30 or 40 students.
Right. During the winter, we do have a week that a lot of pipeliners come in. They're usually off during that time. So we'll have 40 to 50 pipeliners come in. However, most of the time during the year, one or two of them will come in. Helpers will come in, learn how to weld, and the regular pipeliners will come in, brush up on their skills, even if it's before a test, before a job.
Well, it's interesting you use the term before the test. So are they tested afterwards? Because after all, we're talking about natural gas pipelines here. As we learned earlier in the show, it's imperative that those welds are done correctly. So how do we know that they're being trained correctly?
So we do a visual test here. And then when they go out to the job, what happens is they'll give them an x-ray test or a bend test to make sure that they don't break.
Okay, now Jim was saying earlier today that, there's a huge demand for steam fitters in this particular facet of the steam fitting industry. And what is involved in that course? I know they start out as a helper, but you have to be a full-fledged steam fitter in order to be doing this.
There's two tracks to being a welder on the pipeline. You can come in as a helper. That is the more traditional way. You can come in, get training here. We'll teach you from ground up, just how to strike an arc all the way to pipe welding. And then you'll be at the level that these guys are at. Or as a steam fitter, after your 5-year apprenticeship in the building trade side, you can then put a rig together and become a pipeline welder.
And I found that an interesting aspect of it is you say put a rig together. Jim mentioned that as well. So essentially, if you're a rig welder and you have your own rig, you're available to go anywhere you want within that jurisdiction. And the steam fitter, 601 in this case, they're acting as the placement agency. That's awesome.
Correct. It's a really great deal.
Well, I tell you what, I love to see what Bill's doing here, but I know there's some other interesting stuff going on down here. Can we take a look at that?
Yeah, let's go look at Brian. It's looking really good. Tying in real nice. Give it a nice keyhole.
So what's Brian welding here?
So Brian is welding what we call a branch tee. This is basically a customer test. It tests them in their ability to cut with a torch. It tests them on their uphill welding ability and their downhill welding ability.
I heard that term earlier. What do you mean by uphill versus downhill welding?
So on the building trade side, we do everything from the bottom up. All of our welds come from the bottom to the top.
Okay.
Pipeline side, they do everything, most everything, from the top to the bottom.
Okay, and so a test like this is really testing the different standards that an end customer like We Energies requires.
Correct.
And so when we talk about how do we know that they're being trained properly, here's a great example of it. Even though this isn't real world, all the different welds that are required are on this one.
Right, everything is encompassed in this Kuphall.
Okay, and so how long does it take for them once they decide to become a pipeliner? How many hours of training does it take?
It all depends on the person. We custom tailor a program for each individual. It can take somebody anywhere from a month to 2 months, all the way up to a year, to get to a level that WI Energies wants or that our customers want.
Well, I know today's show has really opened my eyes to the different opportunities in the steam fitting industry. Sure, I expected them to work on the pipelines and do the welding, but I wasn't even aware of owning my own truck, being a rig welder, and being able to travel for a living and see something different every day. I appreciate you giving some insight to the training. Thanks for coming on.
Not a problem. Thank you.
For more information on Building Wisconsin, follow us on Facebook and Twitter, and be sure to watch additional episodes on YouTube or at our website, buildingwisconsintv.com. The preceding program was sponsored by the Building Wisconsin Television Network.